Okay, so we're diving deep today, folks. And you know what sparked this whole thing? You guessed it, listener interest. Seems like Cawdor Castle has really captured your imaginations, and honestly, I get it. It's got history, intrigue, a Shakespearean connection, what's not to love? But here's the thing about deep dives. We often find these amazing little rabbit holes along the way. Our sources this time didn't just stop at the castle walls. We're talking Scottish ancestry, unexpected travel experiences, even reindeer, believe it or not.
It's remarkable, isn't it, how one place can become this like springboard into a much wider exploration. And that's what we're going to do today. Dive into Scottish history and heritage, all starting with your interest in this one castle.
It's like that William Faulkner quote, "The past is never dead. It's not even past." Cawdor Castle really embodies that, don't you think?
Absolutely. And it's more than just a pretty facade. Its presence in Macbeth, it wasn't just Shakespeare picking a random cool castle. Cawdor Castle had and still has real historical weight. For one, it was home to the Thane of Cawdor.
Okay, see, now that's a title that screams important, but I'll admit I might need a little refresher course. For those of us who haven't brushed up on our Shakespeare lately, what exactly does Thane of Cawdor even mean?
Basically, it signifies a powerful lord, a nobleman. And in the context of Macbeth, the Thane of Cawdor is like right-hand man to the king. The play actually opens with King Duncan hearing about the Thane's bravery in battle.
Yeah.
So you can see how from the get-go, this title's tied up in ideas of loyalty, power,
No.
and as we know, ultimately, betrayal.
Talk about setting the stage, right? The castle itself practically becomes a character. But, Shakespeare aside, our sources also dug into this whole idea of connecting with your Scottish heritage. And I got to say, that really resonated with me.
It's a powerful thing, isn't it? It's more than just, oh, here's my family tree. It's about understanding the lives your ancestors lived. What did they do? What language did they speak? It makes it real.
Our sources mentioned Gaelic, that ancient language. Honestly, just the sound of it feels almost magical.
Picture this. The Scottish Highlands, right? Rolling hills, mist in the air, and echoing through it, the sounds of Gaelic. For centuries, this wasn't just how they spoke. It was poetry, storytelling, everyday life, the soul of a culture.
Like stepping back in time. And speaking of stepping back, our sources painted this picture of this vibrant tapestry of occupations. What were some of those professions that really brought Scotland to life back then?
Oh, you name it. Blacksmiths hammering away at glowing forges, weavers creating those intricate tartans, shepherds guiding flocks across those windswept moors, stonemasons meticulously placing each stone that built those iconic castles, every single one essential to shaping Scotland's identity.
It really makes you wonder about the stories those stones could tell.
Oh,
Okay, got to switch gears for a second here. We can't ignore the or should I say reindeer in the room. The Around the Web section mentioned adopting a Cairngorm reindeer. I got to admit, that's a new one for me.
it's actually a fantastic example of responsible tourism at work. We're not talking about, taking a reindeer home with you, although wouldn't that be something? It's more about supporting their conservation in a fun, engaging way. You get to learn, contribute, maybe even meet a reindeer or two.
Okay, that's officially going on my bucket list.
Yeah.
And speaking of bucket list-worthy destinations, our sources mentioned a few other spots that caught my eye. Angst, for one. The northernmost inhabited island, can you imagine? Sounds unbelievably beautiful.
Remote, too. Think dramatic cliffs plunging into the North Sea, rolling green hills, seabirds everywhere. Being that far north, close to the Arctic Circle, you're talking about an entirely different world, almost like stepping into another world, right? But still a very real and very important part of Scotland.
It does make me think of that show Shetland.
Mhm.
Our sources mentioned it's filmed up there, those islands. You ever seen it?
Oh, absolutely. Shetland does a fantastic job of, well, using the location. The landscape itself, those close-knit communities, it all becomes part of the story. Adds a whole other layer.
Sounds like my kind of show, adding it to the watch list. Okay, last stop on our little virtual tour here, and this one's got some serious history behind it. The Stone of Destiny. What can you tell us about this thing?
It's incredible how an object, a single object, can be so powerful symbolically. For centuries, it was used in coronations, Scottish kings, a direct link to the past.
Wow, like holding a piece of history in your hands. And speaking of connections to the past, our sources also mentioned Dunfermline Abbey. Sounds like a must-see for any history buff, right?
Without a doubt. It's in that same vein as Cawdor Castle, that tangible link to Scotland's history. But Dunfermline Abbey, that's the final resting place of royalty. Robert the Bruce is buried there, among others. Adds a certain, I don't know, weight to it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And thinking about all these incredible places, the castles, those remote islands, ancient stones, It just hit me. Anyone planning a Scotland trip in 2024, better book early, huh?
Yeah.
Our sources seem to hint at that.
It's true. These aren't exactly hidden gems, you know? Especially with heritage tourism booming right now, those unique experiences, they book up fast. Don't want to miss out on adopting your reindeer because you waited till the last minute.
No kidding. Speaking of incredible experiences, we got to talk about today's social media highlight. This one's all about the view. Apparently, from Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, you get this incredible panorama of Holyrood Palace.
It's iconic for a reason. Picture this. You're standing on this craggy hilltop, right? Overlooking all of Edinburgh. You've got the medieval Old Town, those elegant Georgian buildings, and then, boom, your eyes fall on Holyrood Palace, this grand royal residence right there at the front of the Royal Mile. Just stunning.
Wow, you're really painting a picture. All right, gotta ask, before we wrap up this little journey through Scotland, what about the food? Our sources mentioned Scottish winter soups, and now I'm curious, what's the deal with those?
Well, Scottish cuisine, it's all about hearty, flavorful dishes, right? Perfect for those chilly months. And the soups are no exception. Imagine a steaming bowl of Cullen, creamy with smoked haddock, potatoes, onions, or maybe cockaleeki's more your style. That's a savory broth, chicken, leeks, prunes.
Okay, now I'm officially starving. And to think, we started with one castle. This deep dive took us through literature, history, breathtaking scenery, even got the taste buds going. Makes you realize how much you uncover when you start digging, you know?
It's the beauty of it all, isn't it? These deep dives, they always seem to lead to something unexpected. We started with your interest in Cawdor Castle, and look where we ended up. Shakespeare, heritage, reindeer adoptions, even Scottish soup. Who knew?
It's true. It's like that saying, the world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. We've definitely turned some pages today.
And just like with a good book, exploring a new place, a new culture, it leaves you wanting more. There's always another chapter.
Absolutely. So to our listeners out there, we'll leave you with this. If you were planning your own Scottish adventure, where would you start? Would it be Cawdor Castle, walking those halls, picturing Macbeth unfolding around every corner? Or maybe you'd be drawn to those ancestral roots, tracing the footsteps of your own history through the Scottish landscape. Whatever path you choose, one thing's for sure, it's out there waiting to be discovered.